The Trey Lance trade rumors are heating up, and the Minnesota Vikings have been one of the teams that has been connected to the San Francisco 49ers quarterback. And then also Jonathan Taylor. His camp had some very interesting comments about him possibly be wanting to teaming up with Justin Jefferson and Kevin O'Connell. And then finally, we'll be talking about T.J. Hockenson, as there's been a ton of drama around the star tight end, and it's starting to sound like he wants to reset the tight end market on his next contract extension. That's what we're going to be talking about on today's edition of Vikings Now. Let's get into it. My name is Patrick Siepman. Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. And the first story we're going to be talking about on today's show is Trey Lance. Could Trey Lance be joining the Minnesota Vikings? The San Francisco 49ers released their unofficial depth chart heading into the last week of the preseason, and Trey Lance found himself at quarterback 3. But this actually came in from Benjamin Albright, and he had some very interesting comments about the Vikings and the San Francisco 49ers possibly working out a trade. He went on to say that I think they'll pick up the phone and see what the price tag is regarding Trey Lance. He says, my gut says that San Francisco and Minnesota work out a deal that involves Lance for a pass rusher with picks going both ways. And the Twitter rumors and the Twitter streets absolutely exploded when he tweeted this out, because a lot of people were saying, could Danielle Hunter be heading to San Francisco? And I just want to say this. Danielle Hunter is not being traded in a Trey Lance trade. I think that is the 49ers side of things. Like, yes, 49ers fans, they would love to bring in Danielle Hunter and have him on their football team next season. But by no means do I think Danielle Hunter would be involved in that trade. The Vikings just restructured its deal, gave him that 1 year, $18 million deal to play next season. I just don't think the Vikings would give that even a single thought. So I just want to kind of declare that dead, that Danielle Hunter is not heading to San Francisco. But let's talk about Trey Lance, because obviously he's had very, limited reps, and that's the thing about him, that, he just hasn't had a lot of playing experience, even dating back to his high school days. But in 5 or 4 career starts in the NFL for the San Francisco 49ers, again, the stats aren't going to blow you away. Just under 800 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, completion percentage in the mid-50s, but it's a dual threat ability that I really like about Lance that really got him, drafted in the top 3 of his respective draft class. And overall with Lance, I think this is a low-risk, high-reward move by the Vikes. We do know Kirk Cousins, he is on that 1 year, $35 million expiring contract with the Minnesota Vikings. So maybe the Vikes could be looking at, be like, hey, we don't have a quarterback on the roster for next year. Maybe Trey Lance could be a developmental piece that we bring in. We could trade for him, maybe trade him a 5th and maybe a backup edge rusher, not Danielle Hunter, for a guy like Trey Lance, and he's got high reward because obviously, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, they're smart football minds, and they decided to take him 3rd overall in the 2019 draft. So who knows? Maybe the Vikes could be that team that, kind of pulls the trigger on Trey Lance and brings him in and, maybe grooms him into being a franchise quarterback. But I'll ask you guys, I'll make this the pinned comment on today's video. Would you trade for Trey Lance? Let's just say you're Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and you get that, trade offer from John Lynch and the San Francisco 49ers. Would you pull the trigger? Give me a T for trade or give me a P for pass down in the comments section. Now let's talk about it. Second story on today's show. I'm excited to talk about this. Jonathan Taylor, does he want to be a Minnesota Viking? This was an incredible report and just extremely interesting. That actually came out from Darren Wolfson. He's a beat reporter for a local Minnesota Vikings or Minnesota news company. He said Taylor's camp would love to involve the Vikings as a potential landing spot for their client. And I agree. I mean, if you would add Jonathan Taylor to T.J. Hockenson, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, I mean, the Vikings would have some of the best weapons in the National Football League. And Jonathan Taylor, he's a top 5 back in the NFL. No matter whatever way or whatever order you want to go top backs in the league, I'd probably go Taylor, Derrick Henry, still got Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Christian McCaffrey. But no doubt Jonathan Taylor is in that top 5 grouping. I mean, that 2021 season for Taylor, he was fantastic. Just over 1,800 yards, 5.5 yards per carry, and 18 touchdowns for number 28 from Indianapolis that season. But I want to bring this back to the Vikings side of things and why I just don't really think it makes too much sense for them. Yes, there is maybe a need for a true RB1, a true workhorse RB1 for this group. But I do think if you would bring in a guy like Jonathan Taylor, it would just stunt the growth of a guy like Ty Chandler, Kene Nwangwu, Dwayne McBride, those guys that have been kind of waiting and earning their stripes a little bit. I want to see them, get those reps. And if you would bring in a guy like Jonathan Taylor and keep Madison, then that means a guy like Ty Chandler, Kene Nwangwu, and McBride are absolutely getting no carries throughout the NFL season. And for that reason, shout out to Shark Tank, I'm out. I'm out on trading for Jonathan Taylor. I just don't really think it makes, too much sense for our Minnesota Vikings. Like I said, it's just going to stunt the growth of guys like Ty Chandler and Dwayne McBride. And we've seen it. Ty Chandler's looked absolutely great during the preseason. I would rather see him and Alexander Mattison go more running back by committee heading into the season and have those two split the backfield for the Vikes instead of trading, a first-round pick, giving Jonathan Taylor a contract extension. I just don't think it makes too much sense for the Minnesota Vikings. So for that reason, I'm out. And I do want to give a shout out to our proud sportsbook sponsor, BetUS. And if you guys head to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code CHAT125, you guys will get a 125% deposit bonus. What does that mean? If you put $100 into your account, they'll give you $125 just free to play with. So you guys can bet on the Vikings to win the NFC North. You can bet on the Vikings preseason game tomorrow versus Arizona Cardinals. Whatever you guys want to do, make sure you do it at BetUS and head to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code CHAT125. Third story on today's show is T.J. Hockenson resetting the tight end market, because this is a report that came out that honestly I'm not the biggest fan of, because I thought T.J. Hockenson was going to be wanting to get in that $14-15 million range. Turns out he wants to reset the market. It was actually Diana Rossini who had this bombshell report, as she went on to say the Vikings and tight end T.J. Hockenson have been working on an extension, but both sides are far apart. Hockenson wants to reset the market with a historic contract extension for tight ends. He has been limited at practice because of an ear infection and back soreness. And overall, this situation with Hock has been incredibly weird. Like, just a really weird up and down situation, because at first, during training camp, it came out. Hock's just on the sideline. He doesn't want to risk injury. He's just going to work out by himself and stay out of 11-on-11 drills until he does get that extension. And then the next report came out that, oh, no, he's actually dealing with an ear infection. And then another report came out that, no, he has a lower back issue. And now this report comes out that it says he wants to reset the market and the Vikings are far apart on a contract extension. Well, if TJ is going to want to reset the market, he's going to have to get paid more than Darren Waller, who's getting paid $17 million on average annual salary. And listen, I think TJ Hockenson, he's right in the middle of all these guys. Obviously, Travis Kelce's top dog in the tight end field for the NFL, but TJ, he's up there with the Wallers. He's up there with the Kittles. He's up there with the Goddards. He's up there with the Mark Andrews. So I was hoping Hockenson would probably fall into like this range of the $14-13 million range, but it turns out he's going to want to break the bank for the Vikes and get upwards of $17 million. But his stats last season, listen, when Hock was traded from the Lions to the Vikings, we saw the Vikings offense just add another layer, because they were very, very Justin Jefferson reliant, and they went to him damn near felt like every single play. But when they brought in Hock, he was fantastic. I mean, over 900 yards, 6 TUDs, 10.6 yards per catch for Hock last season. And the number one thing I loved about him, he was big on third downs. We know Kirk Cousins, even dating back to his days back in Washington, he had that connection with Jordan Reed on third downs. And we saw him target Hockenson all the frickin' time on those big-time downs for the Vikings last year. So listen, I'm not saying that I wouldn't extend T.J. Hockenson. I would just be wary of making him the highest-paid tight end of all time. I'll be giving you guys my final thoughts here in just a second, but I'll ask you, would you make Hock the highest-paid tight end in the NFL? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no down in the comment section. Let me know what you guys got to say, because honestly, I got mixed feelings about this. Yes, I think Hockenson is a great tight end. He is a top 5, top 7 tight end, wherever you want him to fall in that list in the entire league. But again, you're going to be giving up a lot of money to a guy that, is he on the Kelce level? Is he on the Kittle level? I'm not sure. And plus, with extensions coming to Justin Jefferson and Christian Darrisaw coming shortly, I just don't know if you want to kind of consolidate your money and consolidate your cap space that much into the tight end spot. Plus, you just paid Josh Oliver. You just gave him a 3-year, $21 million deal as well at that tight end position. So I have mixed feelings on it, so that's why I want to know what you guys have to say. Anyways, if you guys made it to the end of today's video, give me a skull down in the comment section so I can know who the real ones are. I want this comment section looking like US Bank Stadium on a game day. So if you guys made it to the end, give me a skull down below. And as always, we'll see you guys next time. Skull Vikes.